Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to this morning. 15 minutes. Change your life. Achana for Yud Shvat. A good Chodesh. And just to start off, this share is for Refuah Shlema for Tinok Ben Chana and Chana Bas Ilana. Everyone should have Refuah Shlema. We should have an amazing Rosh Chodesh. 10 days left. And should be able to finish it, or close to finishing it. Okay, so it's the last thing we ended up talking about, and like I said to you before, that the Maimon of Bosi Legani are not necessarily one general theme. There's just different points. So, like we talked about Kol Shvin Chavivin. We talked about first Iker Shchina. What does it mean that Iker Shchina? And then we went on to what does it mean? That's what we're discussing actually today. Then we went on to discuss what does it mean Shvin, Kol Shvin Chavivin, all the seventh are cherished. And that's what we're going to discuss. Okay, we'll start from Ois Daled, which is page 47 in this book, or wherever you are looking in, Ois Daled. We just started a little bit on Friday. We'll just go back from there. Okay. After explaining the Maimon, the main Shechina was down below. And afterwards, Moshe brought it down into this physical world. Amos, we say after we explained that the Iker Shechina was down below, and Kol Shvin Chavivin, where was the Shechina, the presence, that clear presence of godliness, most revealed was in the Beis HaMikdash. Or maybe Apostle brings on this the Apostle. Shmei for me sanctuary, I should dwell within them. So it's a famous pasuk. It talks about this a lot. It says, "You should make for me a sanctuary," meaning a Beis HaMikdash, and I'll dwell within them. A Mishkan, I'll dwell within them. So what does it mean then? There was only one Mishkan. So what does it mean in them? It means in them, meaning within all of us. We all have within us a Beis HaMikdash. We have a Kodesh Kodashim. We have an Aron. We have a Menorah. The Mishkan that we talk about is also within us. And just like the main stay of Elikus was in this Mishkan, so within us, we can also have this idea. This is also what it's written. Tzadikim Yush Aretz, and this is what the Maimon says. The Fidikur brings on his Maimon. He says, Tzadikim Yush Aretz, the Tzadikim will inherit the land. V'yishkenu la'ad aleh, and they will dwell la'ad forever on it. So what does this mean? The Tzadikim Yush Aretz. What does it mean they'll inherit the land? This is talking Gan Eden. Shul Gan Eden. Mipnei, and how do they inherit Gan Eden? Sheheim mashkinim, hainu mamshichim, because they draw down this level of Shechinat Kodesh. He's going to explain. And that's what Rebbe is going to explain, because it's not explained by the Fidikur very much. The Fidikur doesn't explain the Maimon. What does it mean that he dwells forever? But it is explained B'Likutei Torah. Alpi Maimon Zayah. It's explained in Likutei Torah according to the Maimon Zayah. What does it say over there? Sheyiyu Gilui Lamata. And it says over there should be a revelation below in this physical world. That tzaddikim inherit Gan Eden, meaning that they draw down a likus into this physical world. And tzaddikim in this is the colloquial sense, not a tzaddik, but like meaning all of us. This is what it means when we say Bosi Legani. What does it mean? I came to my garden, to my to the place that was my bridal chamber, where it was in the beginning. The main Shechina, the essence of Hashem's presence was below. And he's going to explain. So what does this mean? And to understand why. And there was going to go on this whole elaboration, a very interesting idea, that what we end up, essentially what we say, and we've all learned this, but we never really thought about it. We say the Iker Shechina Tachtonim, Dir V'Tachtonim, that Hashem wants a dwelling place in this physical world. But the question is why? Why this physical world? We're not a very spiritually inclined. We're not very sensitive. The spiritual worlds are much higher, they're much greater, they're much more sensitive. They could really appreciate godliness much more than we. We half the day we don't even think God exists. Most of the world doesn't think God exists. And to do Torah mitzvahs is a challenge and it's hard, and we have the and we have all these issues. Why? So why not? Why not the higher spiritual worlds? Why is it this physical world specifically? So the question is, why was the Ikar Shechina b'tachteinin? That's what we're saying, but why is it that way? The whole purpose of the creation of the world and the ishtashus of the world is Nishava Kodesh Baruch Hu liyis lo yisparach b'tachteinin. It says Hashem wanted to have a dwelling place below. But the question is, what does it mean below? Below could mean below Atzilus, which is Bria. Could be Yitzira. Why do we have to say that it's Asiyah, our physical world? The Alter Rebbe explains, the Alter Rebbe explains that the whole purpose of the Seder Ishtashlos, the descent of godliness, to come all the way down into this physical world, and that descent that it has to take through, the constant and the many contractions that it has to happen, is not for the higher worlds. From them, it's only descent. And it's a very interesting point he's bringing out of here, that in the physical world, there's an ascent. There's an advantage, something gained that on the higher worlds is not gained. On the higher world, from godliness to Atzilus is a descent. Or from godliness to Bria is a descent. There's only descent. Whereas in our physical world, which is the lowest, there's an ascent, there's an advantage, something special that's gained that's not gained anywhere else. And the Rebbe is saying that's why it has to be our physical world. Because what's the point? What's the point of going down to a lower level? Well, how would that be gained? The whole purpose of Hashem creating this all the world is that he should have a descent. It doesn't make any sense. But if you're going to say the whole purpose is create for an ascent, something gained special from this, then that makes sense. And that's what he's going to discuss. It's not for the higher world. Because for them, you read it's just a descent from God's countenance. And that couldn't be the point, just descend from God's countenance. You can't say that's the purpose for a descent. It's known that creation is only in the ability of Hashem's essence. Over there, Hashem that Hashem's essence, that it's from itself, meaning it's not created. There's nothing before this. There's no cause. In science they have like the Big Bang theory, which is basically two things came together. But what was in the beginning? Two things, and it started with two things. So Torah, there's in the beginning, there's only one thing. It was godliness. So we're talking about that level that created the world is what we're talking about. That coming from the place of oneness. And from that, himself, from godliness himself, is able to create from the literal nothingness to something. And we're talking a lot of Kabbalah, but in simply saying that it was that the ability to create us physical beings and anything to be created really, but more specifically us, the physical world, is specifically through the highest level of godliness. They create a literal, from some little nothingness to little somethingness, that we feel ourselves as something totally created. We don't feel ourselves created. We feel ourselves totally separate identities, no connection to godliness at all, in a certain sense. That ability to have to happen that way is only from the highest of levels. From the highest of high, you get to the lowest of low. It's like the Humpty Dumpty story that he's on the top of the wall and you fall the further. The higher you go, the further you fall. That's what we're saying. The higher the essence, the further lower we can come. V'hainu, meaning that the creation doesn't result from revelations. It can't work that way. It comes from the essence. Because in order to create our physical world, it's going all the way down to make something physical, it will never happen. It's like two different wavelengths. So you couldn't go from Atzilus to Bria, Yitzin, Asiya, and then end up having a physical world. Because that's just a descent, low level light. And as low as the level of light you go, and the more contraction of godliness you go, you'll never be able to create something like us, a physical world that feels itself totally separated from God. That doesn't happen. How does it happen? It's because God does this thing called Yesh Ma'ayin. He creates something from nothing that we don't feel, that we feel we're coming from nothing. Meaning we don't feel the source we come from. Every other level has the feeling of recognition something above it. And that produces a respect for something above it. Whereas in our world, we're totally separated, we don't feel that at all. And remember, don't forget what we're trying to explain, that the ultimate purpose of Misava, Kodesh Baruch Hu, Hashem wants to dwell in place below. We're proving that it has to be our physical world. Because all we're saying is all the other world, they're just the Yeridam. So you can't say the whole purpose of the whole creation is just for this descent. Therefore, it doesn't make sense to say it's from the higher world, because they're just a descent. And they're not being created from total nothingness. It's only specifically our physical world that's happening this way. Even Atzilus, which is a world, like the Friedrich Rebbe says in the Maimer, it's totally connected oneness with Hashem. Even that world, it's only revealing what's concealed. It's not being created from such a deep place. It's like the better the teacher, you need a better teacher to be able to teach you things that to simpler people. When you have a person that is smart, the teacher doesn't have to be such a good teacher, and the person will get it. Like when I remember when I was in school, we had a bad teacher, well, it was maths, and one of the kids in the class, he was like, "I just teach myself," and that's how he knew it. So it didn't really matter the teacher. But if you're gonna teach this to one of the kids that has a hard time, that teacher needs to be a very good teacher. He needs to know very, very well. And that's what we're saying. Saying to create Atzilus, every Atzilus is a high level, but it doesn't take much. But to be able to teach it's like it says about I think it was a Shlomo Melech that he give 3,000 mashalim. So the 3,000 mashalim, it wasn't 3,000 different mashalim. It was 3,000 based off each other, meaning those 3,000 levels he would go to be able to teach. And it was like a kid. I think the story that there's a kid that he could barely concentrate, and he had to focus. And this is what he taught him. So he was able to teach him. And the point is, you have to know the most, you have to come from the highest level to be able to get to that lowest of level. And that's what we're saying. And we're saying in Atzilus, as great as Atzilus is, and it is, and it's the highest of levels, and we should, Halavai, that would be able to tap into a level of Atzilus and really be connected in that way. But that can't be the ultimate purpose, because that's just a revelation. It's revealing what's concealed. And therefore, it's only a descent. And they can't say the whole purpose of the creation of the world. Hashem wants to lower himself and have a descent, like diminished. Because when the lights of Atzilus were in a concealed state, they're on a high level. So the whole purpose is go from high level to low level. It's like the whole purpose of doing something for someone else is not just that when you help, you have obviously help someone. It's not you don't lose from it. What would be the point? The whole point is that you gain, even though maybe it looks like you lose at the moment, but in the end you're always gaining. That's what we're saying. It has to be that you're gaining, and we can't say the whole purpose of Atzilus, until you don't gain anything. It's a descent. Right, and furthermore, and she's a Raki Gilui, and Giluya, since it's only just a revelation, not of godliness, not godliness itself. You can't say that the whole purpose of the essence of Hashem and the purpose of wanting to have a different Tachtonim is that it should just reveal itself. Has to say this physical world, that in this physical world, that in us, in our world, in our physical, that we don't see godliness. The whole purpose is that we should be able to come and bring out an atmos. And that's a chiddush. That's something novel that can be done. That not just can be done, that can reveal something special that doesn't happen any other way. So in a certain sense, Our chisaron is our milo. Our issue that we don't see godliness is what makes it special. Because in Atzilus, you see godliness, it's not so special. It's like to be in seminary and to be all frum and then do Vichitas and Rambam and do Krishna Shalmita and you do everything right. It's good and it's nice, but that's like living in Atzilus. To come back into the physical world and come back into your place wherever you live and to connect and continue staying connected. That's chiddush. That shows something was gained. So too, if the whole Hashem revealing Himself in Atzilus, okay, very good. It's like a wall full of tzaddikim. What's so special about it? But it's when it's in us, in our physical world, and what we do, that's when it's special. The whole purpose is in this physical world. We'll stop here and we'll continue tomorrow about what the Rebbe says about this. But it's a very fundamental idea we're saying over here that we have to appreciate that there could have been other ways of this happening, this whole Dibur Tachtonim, but Hashem chose us specifically because that's what we're going to discuss ultimately, is that by us, individually, all of us, we have to recognize that we can add something, we can bring something that nothing and nowhere else in no other higher world can produce. And that's why Hashem wanted to choose that. That's why He chose our physical world to make a Dibur Tachtonim. That's what He wants from us. That we have to appreciate, and it's a phenomenal idea to think about that when you do a mitzvah and you do some iskafi and you hold yourself back, you make sure to go to bed on time, you make sure to wake up on time, and you push yourself to do things you know what's right, even though it's sometimes uncomfortable. You recognize this is the right thing to do. This is what I should do to connect to God. That is the purpose of the whole creation. And Atzilus and the Bria and Atzira and the walls of fire and the first Tzimtzum and all the things we talked about. The Ikar Shechina is the whole purpose. The Ikar Shechina is revealed when you do those little acts. So to be continued tomorrow. Thank you for joining.